Now that you are familiar with the knit stitch, it is time to learn the purl stitch. First, we will give a short explanation of when the purl stitch is used. The purl stitch is essentially the reverse of the knit stitch. In fact, if you create a knitted fabric by only purling, the fabric will look exactly like fabric that has been knitted using the knit stitch exclusively. But by using combinations of the knit and purl stitch, patterns emerge. The purl stitch is most commonly used to create the stockinette stitch and the rib stitch. The stockinette stitch is made by alternating a knit row with a purl row. It has a right and a wrong side. On the right side, the stitches look like the letter V. And on the wrong side, the stitches look like bumps or loops. Ribbing is created by alternating the knit and purl stitches within a row. Ribbing does not have a right side and a wrong side. It looks the same on either side. To create the purl stitch, hold the needle with the stitches in your left hand. We will call this needle 1. Hold the empty needle in your right hand. We will call this needle 2. Just as with the knit stitch, there are 4 steps to creating the purl stitch. The working yarn should be in front of the needles. Bring the tip of needle 2 to the right of the first stitch. Insert the tip under the stitch and slide it in front of needle 1. Pick up the working yarn and pass it in between the 2 needles and wrap it to the left around needle 2. Bring the tip of needle 2 down to where the needles cross and in back of needle 1, catching the wrapped yarn onto it. Slide the stitch off of needle 1. The working yarn should still be in front of the needles. That's it. Let's practice a few stitches, counting as we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Because this fabric is in stockinette stitch, the next row will be knitted. When knitting stockinette stitch, knit on the right side of the fabric and purl on the wrong side. Now we will show you how to create ribbing. We made this by alternating 2 knit stitches with 2 purl stitches, but it is also common to alternate 1, 3, or 4 knit and purl stitches. This next point is extremely important to learn and remember. The working yarn is always in the back of the stitches when making the knit stitch, and always in the front when making the purl stitch. We'll demonstrate. Knit 2 stitches, bring the working yarn to the front to purl. Now purl 2 stitches, after purling 2 stitches, move the working yarn to the back of the needles in order to knit. Knit 2 stitches, now let's show you what happens if you forget to bring the working yarn to the front to purl. Purl the next stitch without moving the working yarn to the front. By leaving the yarn in back, we have created an extra twisted loop of yarn that many new knitters mistakenly think is a stitch. Let's remove it. Then move the working yarn to the front to purl. Likewise, if we forget to move the working yarn to the back to knit, we will get an extra loop of yarn around the needle. As shown here. Thank you for watching this video. Enjoy the possibilities that the Purl Stitch brings.